Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me again. I'm Kevin if you are new, and today we are going to spend some time in the kitchen garden. But first, I want to make a loaf of bread. I'm going to make classic white sandwich bread. In a large bowl, combine 1/3 cup or 80 mils of warm water, 2 1/4 teaspoons or 7 grams of active dry yeast, 1 1/2 tablespoons or 20 grams of sugar, 1 cup or 236 mils of lukewarm milk, 1 1/2 tablespoons of shortening. You could use softened butter here, 1 1/2 teaspoons or 22 grams of salt. Then add 500 grams of either all-purpose or bread flour. I'm using all-purpose flour today. And then I'm going to stir this until a shaggy dough develops. So this is a bread you can make without any special equipment. It's also the kind of bread that is perfect for sandwiches and toast and French toast. I may have French toast for dinner tonight. Let me clean up my workstation and grab my marble board. This dough is very easy to knead by hand, but you do need to knead it without adding any additional flour. I will link the printable recipe for this classic white bread in the description box below if you are interested. Now when you knead, start kneading very gently by folding the dough over on itself. Just don't push down too hard. Our goal here is to knead the dough until it becomes smooth and elastic and not sticky. What we are doing is developing the strands of gluten. Now, if at any point the dough becomes so sticky that you are tempted to add flour, just take the dough like this, lift it, and slam it onto your workstation. The dough will be much easier to work with after you've slammed it down, 10, 15, 20 times. Yeah, I have not been up to my kitchen garden in, I think, 4 days. I had house guests here, and then the remnants of Hurricane Debbie blew through. The wind was really intense, and we had a colossal amount of rain. It's a really heavy downpour for a very long time. So I have been afraid to look at the kitchen garden. And I was going to go up there earlier this morning, but I thought I would save the experience to share with you. Now, let's see if this dough is ready. So you can pull on the dough, and if you can stretch it like this and it doesn't tear, the dough is thoroughly kneaded. My dough could use a little more kneading. Generally takes from 8 to 10 minutes to knead dough by hand. And this is the kind of white bread that I grew up with. My mother used to make it, and I suspect her mother made it. Okay, let's do another stretch test. This dough is nice and stretchy now. I'm going to let this sit here for a moment while I wash out my mixing bowl. Okay, my bowl is washed and dried. Now I need to grease it lightly, just with vegetable spray. Flip the dough to grease the other side. And I'm going to cover this with a damp towel. A very kind viewer sent me this beautiful kitchen towel. I really love it. Okay, now I need to set this in a warm spot until the dough doubles in volume. That will take from 90 minutes to 2 hours. And during that time, we can head up to the kitchen garden. Oh no! I see some trouble in paradise. I also see some very nice things. The massive rainfall and high humidity from our recent storm seems to have put a blight upon my tomato vines. I will try to set things right again. In the comments, let me know if summer storms have caused havoc in your own garden. So what I'm going to do is go through and harvest the ripe San Marzanos and any other ripe tomatoes I can find. And I will discard any of the badly spoiled tomatoes. I can see that blight has affected some of the stems. This is not the end of the world. I will simply remove those stems. Well, this looks better already. And interestingly, the vines on the outside of the trellis are perfectly fine. Now we can continue to tie the vines to the trellis. I'm using Velcro garden tape here. I'm harvesting all of the ripe fruit and also any fruit that shows signs of ripening. Contrary to popular belief, tomatoes do not require sunlight to ripen. They will gladly ripen indoors. I just ran back to the house to grab a large bowl because we have many more Romas to harvest. The heavy rain pummeled the zinnias in the kitchen garden. I'm taking a moment now to harvest the flowers. I will also snip some boxwood stems that we can use for a simple purple and green flower arrangement. Well, it is humid out there. So I have zinnias and a lot of San Marzanos, and under all of these zinnias, I have Romas. And the first thing I need to do is put all of the zinnias in water. Our friend Michael is coming to stay overnight on Saturday, so I wanted to make a simple little zinnia arrangement for his bedroom. And I just need to temporarily plunge all of these flowers in water before I arrange them. And then I need to deal with these Romas and San Marzanos. I'm going to pull out the fruit that is truly ripe and keep it separate. And then I will take the ripening fruit and place it on newspaper on a table. And then those tomatoes can ripen on their own. So there is no benefit to leaving a tomato on the vine once it has started to color. When the fruit has a little color, like this one, it will gladly ripen indoors. We came in just in time. My dough has doubled in volume. Now I need to grease my 9-inch loaf pan. So now we can gently deflate the dough and drop it onto our workstation and pat it out. Now I want to form this dough into a rough disc that is the same width as my loaf pan. Then I take the upper ends of the dough, fold them over to make a point, and then roll the dough up, pressing with my thumbs to seal each revolution or each turn. What we're doing here is building surface tension. And we can pinch that final seam and pop the dough into its pan. Now once again, we need to cover the dough and let it rise until doubled in volume. But I can't use my damp towel here because the dough will stick to it. So I am going to use cling film. And of course, the dough will stick to the cling film. And the way around that is to grease the film. There we are. So this should take about 30 to 45 minutes to double in volume. While our loaf is proofing, I'm going to go through my fully ripe tomatoes and select 6 or 8 that we can turn into salsa a little later today. And after the bread has baked and cooled, I want to make a BLT, and I will use this fruit for that sandwich. The rest of the ripe fruit I'm going to freeze because I'm not ready to process it yet. By processing, I mean I might turn these into ketchup or tomato paste or spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce. But I'm not going to do that kind of food processing until the weather cools. It's very hot today. And here we are. This dough doubled in volume in only 30 minutes. We need to bake this loaf until it browns appetizingly and it sounds hollow when tapped with the knuckles. That's going to take from 25 to 30 minutes. I'm baking this loaf at 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 degrees Celsius. While the bread is baking, we might as well go ahead and arrange the zinnias and the boxwood that we clipped earlier. I'm going to make the arrangement in this white jug. I ended up putting the greens in this vase and the zinnias in this black florist bucket. Now, several of these zinnias are misshapen, but we will make them work. Now these are the zinnias that you and I planted together from seed last spring. The variety, I think, is called Purple Prince. Let me know if you have zinnias in your garden. And if so, what varieties you are growing. I think zinnia is the first flower I planted when I was a child. So we will have some zinnias that stand and some zinnias that droop. I think this arrangement is perfectly acceptable for a bedside table, especially considering that it was composed of free greens and free flowers. I'm going to bring this up to the guest bedroom now. And here is our gorgeous, gorgeous loaf. This is the kind of loaf that you want to unmold immediately. Here we are. And then brush with melted butter. I will put a sheet of parchment under this to catch any drips. We need to let this loaf cool completely, and then we can come back and turn this loaf into either French toast or a BLT or something else. Our classic sandwich loaf has cooled sufficiently, I think. So I'm going to cut a couple of slices that I can use for a BLT. Just look at the beautiful crumb or interior of this bread. So the bread is soft and moist, but it has a very tight crumb. Perfect for sandwiches, toast, and French toast. And I'm going to toast these slices in my little toaster oven over here, and then we can go about slicing up a tomato. For the lettuce, I'm using this butterleaf variety, and it comes with the root attached. What I've been doing is, when I finish the lettuce, I plant the root in the garden, and lo and behold, a new butterleaf lettuce plant grows. Then I have some pre-cooked bacon here, which I'm just going to crisp up in the microwave. Here's the toasted bread. We want a little mayo on each slice. Bacon, which I will cut in half. And the main subject. And to give this sandwich a little extra jazz, I'm going to add some of the wonderful, fragrant basil salt that you and I made together in one of last week's episodes. This smells just like fresh basil from the garden. Bon appetit. This is beyond delicious. The bread, of course, is magnificent. Then we have the crisp lettuce and the ripe, juicy tomato, the basil salt, and the bacon. Oh, what a perfect sandwich. And that basil salt really does bring the sandwich over the top. I'm going to finish my sandwich, then I need to do some computer work, and when we come back, we are going to make some roasted tomato salsa. For our roasted garden salsa, I'm harvesting a green pepper, some cilantro, and 2 jalapenos. I'm going to wear gloves because when you're working with jalapeno peppers, you want to wear gloves, okay? I'm going to arrange these San Marzano skin side up on a baking sheet. I'm using a total of 8 San Marzanos here. Now, this is one of the onions that you and I grew together. They didn't grow to a very large size, but they grew large enough for salsa. And I should probably mention that this is my first time ever making salsa, roasted salsa. But I do love salsa. I love it on tacos. I love it for a dipping sauce with chips. I even love it on fried eggs. Okay, now I want to cut this each onion in half. Move the root. We can add the onion to the baking sheet. And then this wasn't originally in the plan, but since I have a lot of bell peppers, all of them green right now, decided to try adding a green pepper. This is the garlic that you and I grew together last autumn and that we harvested probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you're new to this channel, you've obviously missed a lot of videos, and I hope you will go back and watch some of them. I need to rinse this off because it's still covered with dirt. So that was 4 good-sized cloves of garlic, and they go right onto the baking sheet. Seem to be running out of room here. Jalapenos. And I will remove the ribs and seeds. Ribs and seeds are the hottest part of a hot pepper. Yeah, the serrated edge of a grapefruit spoon works really well for removing ribs and seeds from hot peppers. Now we can put the jalapenos on our baking sheet. And then I want to give everything a drizzle of olive oil. Now we can add a dusting of salt. I'm going to put this baking sheet under my broiler until all of the vegetables have blistered. So these vegetables were about 6 inches under the broiling element for only 5 minutes. They are just perfect now. So I'm going to pop these directly into my food processor. Just to be safe, I'm only adding a half of one of the roasted jalapenos right now. And then we will taste and determine if we want to add more of the roasted jalapeno. I will add the cilantro at the end. All we have to do is pulse the machine to create a chunky salsa. We have to give this a little taste. It's very nice, and it is not the least bit spicy hot. I ended up adding all of the jalapeno, plus a generous pinch of salt, and all of the cilantro. Finally, I added the juice of 1 lime. Cleanliness counts. I'm using a fresh spoon every time I taste this salsa. Almost perfect. Needs a little more salt. This is delicious. I need to put this in a bowl and pop that bowl into the refrigerator. My salsa is nicely chilled. I have some chips, and I made myself a wee little Cosmo. So let's try the chilled salsa. So delicious. And to think, everything in this salsa, save for the lime, came from my garden. Well, we certainly accomplished a lot today. Thank you for spending time with me as we made a loaf of classic white bread, and we surveyed the damage in the garden, and we harvested 105 tomatoes, and we made a BLT, and we made this garden fresh salsa. I can put a couple of my other videos at the end of this one that you can enjoy between now and my next upload. Until then, please treat yourself very, very well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, friends.